You're the owner of a small business, which means you're also the tech guy, and HR, and personal assistant, and head honcho, and intern. You could use another pair of hands, like the experts you'll find at Verizon Small Business Days, April 21st through 27th. Get a free tech check, special deals, and more. Call 1-800-483-4428 or visit verizon.com/smallbusiness to book your appointment. Verizon Business.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Welcome to Talking Real Money. Hi, this is Tom Cock. Happy holidays. Hope you're getting in the spirit after this very strange year. Yeah, we're still figuring out how to get everybody together here at the end of the year. I don't think it looks too good, but many of you have faced additional difficulty. And truly, I've mentioned this before, my heart goes out to you. We've seen and known people that have lost their jobs. We know people that have had to shut down their businesses. Truly, this has been a very, very difficult year. And as a small business owner, I do feel that for you. I truly do. And hope 2021 is a much better year. But to those of you who may be facing this still ahead or have faced this in 2020, there's some things to think about. And I, with great interest, read a letter in the Wall Street Journal recently that went like this. I was pushed into retirement recently when my company ended up downsizing because of the pandemic. As a result, my wife and I will need to tap our savings sooner than we anticipated and rethink our plans for the next year or two. Any advice about navigating 2021 and beyond? Well, first, let's look at the numbers. It's actually pretty staggering. In a typical year, for about the last 10, baby boomers have retired at about a rate of about 2 million a year. And in this year, 3.2 million. So a third more have been forced to quit. Now, despite that, surveys have showed that about 76% say they're still doing the same financially, and 77% say they're confident about the future. Well, that's certainly good, even though it still leaves, about a quarter of baby boomers worried about how they will get by during in these difficult times ahead. But let's say you had a voluntary layoff of some kind, or you're forced out of your company, you had to retire. What do? Well, the first thing I think you do is immediately, and I think you do this anytime over age 50, sit down and do an immediate snapshot. That is determining, first of all, how much money you're spending and looking at those things you might be able to sort of push off. I know I've got some cable TV bills that my partner Don McDonald thinks are very silly. I want to be able to watch any channel I want anytime. There's other ways to do this that are more efficient, right? I could save money there. That would be one. Number one, really come up with an ironclad budget. Number two, look carefully at the debt you're carrying, especially, and we'll talk about this in a minute, if it is high interest debt, which many of us have and don't realize just how expensive it all is. Number three, look at all sources of income you could have today, tomorrow, and into the future, and then also all of your assets, including, by the way, real estate, because that's a place where people may have money that they don't realize. Then the things I think to consider are, that's the snapshot, then the considerations are, how are you going to get health care coverage? Are you willing to consider part-time work? There's a lot of places you can work part-time and get that health care coverage. No, I don't want you to turn into a barista at Starbucks, especially if you're an airline captain. I read an interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal this week about how many airline captains have now become, shockingly, truck drivers when they've lost their jobs. And then the other consideration I mentioned is lifestyle changes. Can you spend less? Is there a way to sort of maintain your lifestyle, get most of the good stuff, and not have to spend as much? And of course, this year, we've all spent some less on restaurants. And by the way, a great story near our house with a local restaurant that has been around for almost 40 years. Was getting ready to go out of business, and the community rallied around it, came up with $150,000 so far to keep it going. I think it's a truly great story. So you got the snapshot, you got the considerations. Now you're going to build that new plan. And that is going to take in part one, this budget, which is going to have to be vetted carefully. My suggestion is to go back in the last 6 months and look at all the expenses, to include those things that oftentimes when we set up the budget, we don't really think about, like, well, I had to buy those pills for my dog. Oh, I had to do some work around the house. Those kind of things. Really make sure it works. Number two, the income part. This is where I see a lot of mistakes made. People forced to retire at age 63, and they automatically sign up for Social Security, not realizing that you're giving up an 8% a year raise all the way to the age of 70. And that's a lot of money. And I don't know of any investment that can give you the guaranteed 8% a year raise either. Then, on part of that plan, very critical, the withdrawal of your savings. How much can you take out of your portfolio and have it go on for a very long period of time? And if you're retiring in your early 60s, I think you should plan on a 30-year retirement. When we run plans for people, we run them out into their early and mid-90s. Very important to make sure that money is going to last. Here are some of the mistakes I see. Number one, I still run into people that come into our office and have high interest rate debt, especially credit cards, loans, and they're in or near retirement. This is in a low interest rate environment. It's horrible to be paying some of these credit card interest rates. Number two, then on the other side of the spectrum, I see a lot of people with money sitting around in cash. Let's talk to a woman today who's got about $100,000 in an IRA sitting in a bank, not making anything, and realizing maybe that's not the best way to go. So you got this high interest debt, low interest savings. Number three, most people, I know I'm talking to you, end up with too many accounts. I've got this IRA over here. I've got an employer where I have an old 401k. I inherited this IRA over here. They end up with 5 or 6 accounts. They really can't tell us what their stock to bond ratio is, how much they're paying others. Consolidation oftentimes can make sense. Number four, many times I see people taking either too much risk or not enough risk. And this gets back to the planning, because once you know your sources of income and how much you're going to need to spend out of that portfolio, you can work backwards and determine what rate of return do I need on my money? Do I need to put it all in Bitcoin or Airbnb or whatever hot stock? Most of the time the answer is no, but you need to have a mix of stocks and bonds. You need to have some upward movement of your account, but you need to know what that number is. So that's one, taking too much risk, and then the other one is not enough risk. I see a lot of people, again, with money stuck in cash, in bank accounts, and oftentimes too much in bonds, which the high-quality bonds now paying about 1%. And that brings me to number 5. And this is the critical part. Plan, plan, plan. I'd say anytime after the age of 50, whether you're being forced to retire or not, you've got to have that retirement plan that looks at all the things I just mentioned and says, are we working our way to quitting? Now, my plan calls for me working till age 70. That's still a good number of years down the road. And if things work out, I should have the assets I need. I'll probably keep doing other fun things like this and the radio show and hopefully doing some talks and having fun talking to all of you. But if I make a little bit on my money, I keep saving a little bit at age 70, my wife and I should be okay. Those are the things I think you should really think about if you've been sort of laid off or you may be facing an involuntary or voluntary layoff in the weeks and months ahead. I do want to say, this is exactly the kind of work that we do at Vestry. We will help you understand what the future could look like in your current situation. We will help you look at all these random accounts and sort of figure things out, set them all up, consolidate where necessary, and will help provide you peace of mind for the long haul, which many of you really, really want, especially during these difficult times. Happy holidays to you all. I'm Tom Cock for Talking Real Money.
Talking Real Money. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for educational and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. Providing personalized financial planning or investing advice takes time, so please consult with a really good fee-only fiduciary investment, tax, or legal advisor. We know a good one. Investing must always involve risk. In other words, you can and probably will lose money at times. Also, as much as you want it, no one can accurately, consistently predict the future. So past performance doesn't tell you a darn thing about what the future will bring. Unlike many other programs that say something similar, Talking Real Money is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Vestry, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and disclosures. That should keep the lawyers happy.